me, action is the purest use of the film language. All the syntax of cinema is best revealed in action sequences. On the simplest level, it's about someone who's taken from home as a child, makes a promise to return whatever it takes to get home, and she spends her whole life getting home. In a world where there's no rule of law or any rules but to survive, what do you become? What's left of you having gone through all of this? And how do you deal with the world? That's the essential dynamic in this story, that in extremis, people, the essence of the human being is revealed, and that's the essential story which I would like to think the audience takes from it. It's basically the odyssey of one character who undergoes a number of trials, accumulating the skills which are going to get her to fulfill her objective, which is to get home, having promised her mother, no matter how long it takes, whatever you have to do, promise me you'll find your way home. Beat by beat, we see her become the Furiosa we meet in Fury Road. All the good and the bad, all the complexity, I hope, is revealed in this story. Furiosa is not only about that character, but it's about the world from which she came, about the Citadel, how that may have become the sort of the dominant citadel of the wasteland, and Gastown and Bullet Farm. So there's no question that Anya brought something that's ferocious to the movie. I mean, whether it's in her or not, she found that in herself. And it's something that I sensed in her work previous to working with her, and it's something I really got to know in this movie, in working with her on this movie. There's something resolute, highly determined, and ultimately ferocious. That's in her, and I think that's seen on the screen. Once I met Chris and saw his response and understood what he was thinking, and the way that dovetailed, I thought, okay, he's the one who should take on Dementis. One of the organizing ideas in the design of the film is that everything must be made from found objects repurposed. There's no manufacture of anything new. That's why there are no electric cars in Fury Road or this world, because they wouldn't survive. You couldn't use them. I think that's one of the great things about Fury Road and Furiosa. It's where we start is very grounded. And Guy's the same as well. So rather than do a digital stunt, far better to do a real stunt as the basis of the shot. Then you can enhance everything around it digitally. If it's unsafe to do flames, gets too close to the stunt people, and it gets in the way of doing it properly, then we'll do digital stunt flames. But at least have some flames there in order to give us a sense of what it would be. If we can't create a storm, at least have the vehicles driving into the storm all real, and so on and so on. So I think the instinct from Colin and Guy and everyone is absolutely right. Action sequences have to be about character. They have to be about a story. They're not just, very kinetic, entertaining events. They have to be very character-driven. So, of course, there's action in Furiosa. There's a lot of it, and it's different. And I think if it just repeats what we did in Fury Road, then I think it'll be seen as a cynical exercise. Every time you see something basically repeating what was successful in the past, it more or less, people become anesthetized to it. For those who hadn't seen Fury Road, it doesn't make any difference. And for those that have seen Fury Road, it doesn't make too much difference, because except that you will understand all the antecedent forces and vectors that went into creating the events of Fury Road. So they're basically they're basically one long saga.
This time round, the war rig is larger, more magnificent, more polished, and we've made a story, a bas relief story of his legend, an advertisement for him to drag through the wasteland proclaiming his greatness. This war rig has a certain beauty. The 6-foot monster truck, because it was a complete fabrication, somewhat along the lines of the Giga Horse, and then the radial bike, and the idea of the chariot, because it fits historically with an entrance, with a laying of siege, and I think it also helps thereby to upgrade and show beats and milestones in Dementors's character and movement towards the Citadel.
Working on this film is not actually what I would consider a normal film score type job, because for years we've been talking about this project, and for years we've been talking about how different this movie would be and what the music equivalent of that would be. So the approach, both the movie and the music, has been restrained. And whereas Fury Road was like super big and bombastic and very aggressive musically speaking, with lots of multiple layers of music almost from the beginning of the movie all the way up to the end. And this movie is exactly reversed. Like the music is like pursued like in a really elemental way. Like, what are the bare elements that we need for a certain scene? How long can we go without music before music comes in? Because we really zoom in on Furiosa's backstory, and we're really with her the whole time in this movie. And so everything that happens to Furiosa is seen through her eyes, like even the other characters in the movie. Anya's performance, especially towards the end of the movie, the way that she looks, she does most of her acting with her eyes in this movie, and that hate, that pure desire to take down the Dementors is so strong, and it really inspired me, you know, to go all out, like aggressive for her. Not only did George and I talk about that, but it would now fit the character as well because of the strong acting. A few organic instruments really take center place in the score. One is the duduk, which we also featured in Fury Road when there's talk about the green place. So that duduk has a more important role in this score. And for people that don't know by name what this instrument is, it's a very typical instrument that comes from Armenia, but it's used in that whole region. It's even being used on various different Middle Eastern countries, and it has this really soaring, soft, incredible tone that immediately draws you to like the deepest felt emotions. And the masters who play this instrument so incredibly, they can invoke so much emotion with a human being by just one instrument without any accompaniment whatsoever. It's incredible, the sound of the duduk. For the didgeridoo, I worked with William Barton. He's from Australia, and he's a deeply intense player that really lives the culture where it's from. The elders that played that instrument for thousands of years. It's probably one of the oldest instruments that we have on the planet. We don't even know for sure how long it's been around, but it's been around for a really long time.
It's a really strong film. It's a strong story. So you'll get engaged with the performances of the characters. It's a 15-year transition, an epic story across 15 years. Has, I think, visually some stunning imagery. It has, as I said, good performances, and it has action that a skilled filmmaker like George, who doesn't try and repeat himself, can deliver. She has that remarkable skill as an actress to make you believe whatever she wants you to believe. And she is Very, very determined, and certainly, from my point of view, discharged everything you'd need from a warrior. But George, and in this case, with the help of Guy Norris and 200 stunt people, step out to do an action sequence, which in this case, the biggest one runs consecutively for it's in a sequence of about 20 minutes, but it's known in our world as the stowaway sequence. And what you're getting there is a hugely orchestrated action symphony, a rock and roll disaster, which goes from the start of the first sort of attack, the defense of the attack, and it just keeps rolling. And it has the best and George's best skills of delivering action in a really, not in a really interesting way. I don't think there's any of the great filmmakers that match him in his ability to deliver action. And although this is not a Mad Max as such movie, it is definitely Mad Max action on steroids. You've got vehicles and the ability to choreograph not just one shot, but a sequence you're going to see in this you've never seen before. Bikes that attack at levels that are extraordinary, aerial attacks. We've seen polecats nobody realized. And the way George does that, and the way that people, deliver for him what he needs, makes the film absolutely stunning as an action movie.